Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Kodanitai Maya Poshashi, Kodanitai Maya Poshashi. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Radhe, Radhe. Iskon Guru Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shishi Kodanitai Maya Poshashi Ki Jai, Shishi Radha Damodara Ki Jai. So, still on the last instruction. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's life had been dedicated to spreading the holy name to every town and village, and for a month he had been surrounding himself with the holy name. By his passing away, he especially wanted to fill the room with devotees chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna fulfilled that wish. Srila Prabhupada therefore departed under the most favorable circumstances possible, in the most sacred place, Vrindavan, surrounded by Vaishnava chanting the holy name. An ideal spiritual teacher, Acharya, always acts in such a way that others may follow his example. As Srimad Bhagavatam states, these great souls who cross over the ocean of birth and death by taking shelter of the boat of the lotus feet of Krishna, miraculously leave the boat on this side for others to use, and Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, by its perfect example, affords all conditioned souls the means for meeting the greatest of all dangers. An auspicious death is not merely a matter of psychological adjustment, so that one may die without regret or without becoming unduly upset. The real point is that at the time of death, the soul must leave the body and take his next birth. Only the Krishna-conscious soul can leave this world of birth and death and attain an eternal blissful life in the spiritual world. Therefore, one's life is tested at death. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. How is it? Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so this is a long one. So what I'll do, I'll just run through the translation, then we can do the word for word for the Sanskrit, if that's okay. Yatra vidruma sopana mahama kratabhuvaha yatra spatika kudyanti vadurya stamba pankataya yatra chitra vitanani patamaгаsanangani cha payafenani basaya mukhatapma parichadata kujanti bene poner devya sabhyayanta itastata ratna stalishu pashyanti sadati sundaram mukham tasmin mahendra bhavani mahabalo mahamana nijita loka ekarat reme vivanti rangi yuka suradvi ratapite ujita chanda sasana. So responsible please. Yatra, where the residential quarters of King Indra. Vidruma sopana, steps made of coral. Mahamakata, emerald. Bhuva, floors. Yatra, where. Spatika, crystal. Kujani, walls. Vaidurya, of Vaidurya stone. Stamba, of pillars. Panktaya, lines. Yatra, where. Chitra, wonderful. Vitanani, canopies. Padmaraga, bedecked with rubies. Asanani, seats. Cha, also. Paya, of milk. Fena, the foam. Niba, just like. Saya, beds. Muktadama, of pearls. Parichadada, having borders. Kunjabibi, jingling. Nupurai, with ankle bows. Devya, celestial bodies. Shabdayancha, making sweet vibrations. Itatata, here and there. Ratnastalishu, in places bedecked with jewels and gems. Pashyanti, see. Sudati, having nice teeth. Sundaram, very beautiful. Mukham, faces. Tasmin, in that. Mahendra Bhavani, the residential quarters of the heavenly king. Ahabala, the most powerful. Mahamana, highly thoughtful. Najita Loka, having everyone under his control. Ekarat, the powerful dictator. Remi, enjoyed. Abhivanja, worshipped. Angry Yuga, whose 2 feet. Sura Adabi, by the demigods. Pratapitai, being disturbed. Ujita, more than expected. Chanda, severe. Sasana, who's ruling. Translation. The steps of King Indra's residence were made of coral. The floor was bedecked with invaluable emeralds. The walls were of crystal, and the columns of Vaidurya stone. The wonderful canopies were beautifully decorated. The seats were bedecked with rubies, and the silk bedding, as white as foam, was decorated with pearls. The ladies of the palaces, who were blessed with beautiful teeth and the most wonderfully beautiful faces, walked here and there in the palace, their ankle bells tinkling melodiously, and saw their own beautiful reflections in the gems. The demigods, however, being very much oppressed, had to bow down and offer obeisances at the feet of Hiranyakashipu, who chastised the demigods very severely, and for no reason. Thus Hiranyakashipu lived in the palace and severely ruled everyone. By Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful in the heavenly planets that all the demigods except Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu were forced to engage in his service. Indeed, they were very afraid of being severely punished if they disobeyed him. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti has compared Hiranyakashipu to Maharaj Vena, who was also atheistic and scornful of the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas. Yet Maharaj Vena was afraid of some of the great sages, such as Bhrigu, whereas Hiranyakashipu ruled in such a way that everyone feared him, but Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. Hiranyakashipu was so alert against being burnt to ashes by the anger of great sages like Bhrigu, that by dint of his austerity he surpassed their power and placed even them under his subordination. It appears that even in the higher planetary systems, which people are promoted by pious activities, disturbances are created by asuras like Hiranyakashipu. No one in the three worlds can live in peace and prosperity without disturbance. Om Jnana Timiranda Shaganandana Shalakaya Chakshurannanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Vibhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Vidhati Swapadam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchika Patu Vistra Kripasni Devacha Haritanam Bhavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo. So we're continuing on. So the chapter is called Hiranyakashipu Terrorizes the Universe. So that's interesting because anyway, he's compared to King Vena, and King Vena was not as powerful as Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu had control of the entire universe, and King Vena only had control of the planet Earth. It was very insignificant. His rule was very insignificant as well, compared to Hiranyakashipu. Over 100 million years, he was terrorizing the universe. So it says here that he would severely chastise the demigods for no reason. So that creates a lot of insecurity. It's not so bad if you're getting chastised severely and you know what it is you've done and you can avoid doing it. But if you're getting chastised severely and there's no reason for it, then it creates a very depressing situation to be in, that uncertainty. So although Srila Prabhupada rounds off the paper by saying, although in the heavenly planets you can be promoted there by your pious activities, there are still disturbances. There's nowhere in the three worlds that there isn't disturbance. So people are thinking, if I win the lottery, then everything will be fine. But if you win the lottery when you're 60, then it would be more sad than happy, because then you'd realize you've missed out your entire life. You've missed out. Now you've got the money. It's almost like teasing you, because now you're not old. Now you're not even able to enjoy it. At least when you're young, you can be in the illusion that, oh, it's okay, I'm going to live for a long time. But when you get old, then the illusion's really wearing thin now. You're only 10, 20 years left. But there was one lady I met who'd won 2 million, and she was too old to spend it now. She was like getting up into her 70s. Right at the end of her life, she wins the lottery. But anyway, people are thinking, if I win the lottery when I'm young, when I'm only 20, 25, then I can have a great life. But compare that to being in the heavenly planets, where they have a limited opulence, and they have bodies that facilitate for enjoyment. The bodies don't smell when they sweat, and the bodies don't age. The only way a demigod knows it's going to die is the garland fades, and then the female gets pregnant after she gives birth, and she comes down in the rain, and then grows up in the grain, and then the grain is eaten by man, and then again she's released in the semen, and then the whole thing starts all over again. So before you even try it, if you're thinking, I'm going to make a lot of economical development, get a really big house, Prabhupada, I was just hearing yesterday, Prabhupada was saying they build these big houses, but they're not strong enough to stay in them. They're not as strong as the house they build. The house they build will last for hundreds and hundreds of years, but they'll only live another 20, 40 years in the house. And then the sons will take it over, but then of course they will also do the same thing. The house will still be standing. So many people will come and die, come and die, come and die. So nobody can create a permanent situation for themselves. They can only create an illusion for themselves. So that's your choice. Do you want to face up to reality and try and be happy on that basis? Or do you want to avoid reality and try and stay happy in illusion? Obviously, it's not going to work if you're in illusion. You need to have some goal. They did a test on some rats. They threw them in the water. They didn't kill them, but when the rats were just about to drown, they pulled them out of the water. It was after 15 minutes. So they did another experiment. They threw the same rats in the water, but after about 30 minutes, they rescued them. So then the rats had that lesson that they'd learned, and then they threw the rats in the water again, and they left them to see how long they would go, knowing that the rats now had hope. You know how long the rats lived? I mean, they didn't kill them, but before they took them out, before they were going to drown. 60 hours. 60 hours. 15 minutes when they had no hope, and 60 hours when they had hope. So if you have a goal and you're determined to pursue that goal, then you'll last much longer than a person who doesn't. So people can crumble very easily in the material world if they're just relying upon material facility to create the illusion of happiness. Because in their heart of hearts they know it's an illusion, and then this world is meant to help us become free from our illusion. Sooner or later the illusion breaks, and then that meaningless existence leads to a high rate of suicide and depression. So it's like a minefield out there, actually. What's going on out there? How people are suffering, they're suffering like crazy. We don't see it because the ones that are suffering like crazy are in their houses screaming. We just see the ones on the street there thinking that everything's okay just now until the penny drops. So better to just get a grip of reality and base our happiness, our foundational happiness upon that. When we have that hope and that sense of purpose, then we can survive in the eternal world. And that's why every day we do the same thing to create that hope, that inspiration and aspiration. We've all been told this thing. And right now it's multiplied 1,000 times. So if you can write it down and are there any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm just wondering. Says I've run into the people. So this, I've been telling about Krishna consciousness, but they say that like they accept that there's just simply no hope. There's no meaning. So they accept that. They say it's fine. It's okay. They're happy with that. But I was just wondering like how long they can go like this.
15 minutes. Yeah, our ability to affect other people is based upon our level also of Krishna consciousness. The first level is Kanishna, then the Rajamana, then the movement Adhikari. So the Kanishna can create a little bit of faith, the Rajamana can give some taste, and the Kanishna can give prana. So for ourselves, a lot of the time, initially when we're preaching to people, we're actually just preaching to ourselves, trying to convince ourselves. And they're aware of that, although they may not consciously be aware of it. But if you hear what Srila Prabhupada says sometimes, and you think, great, that seems really good, I'll try that one next time when someone comes up with that argument. And you say the same thing that Prabhupada said, but not with the same conviction. So when Prabhupada says it's like, the person is not against it. We have to be able to sing it. We have to be saying it from a platform of realization. So that means initially we have to work on ourselves. Like the daughter was saying in class the other day, if everyone's drowning and you're trying to help someone else that's drowning, and you can't swim and they can't swim, then you don't really save anybody. You just give them the impression that you're saving them. So you have to be a little bit, because if you're in amongst your friends and they're all drowning, then they say, where's Ramus going? He's leaving us. He's going over to the bank. He's getting out. I thought you loved us, Ramus. And then Ramus climbs out and he grabs a rope and he throws the rope, and then he can pull people in. So So the emphasis is on, first of all, saving ourselves. Srila Prabhupada said, the highest principle is to save yourself. And then we can think of saving others, otherwise it's a futile way. So we could be affected and pulled in. When I first joined, I had a close friend who but then he sent some drugs through the post to entice me to come back out. So then I realized he's not really a friend. And until I'm fixed up, I have to just leave that behind. So I didn't bother communicating with him anymore, getting in touch with him anymore. Just turn the chapter over. And then about 4 years later, I met him. I bumped into him. He'd just come out of jail for dealing drugs. And then we weren't friends anymore because we were only friends on the basis that I was going to play the game if I wasn't. And when you become a devotee, you threaten everyone's existence, you see, because they're thinking, oh, look at that way, this is shaved his head and he's wearing the bed sheet and he's making so many sacrifices. And I'm not doing that. If he's right and I'm wrong, I'm in big trouble. So you're like a threat to their whole existence. You undermine their whole existence. They're worried, and the longer you do it, the more they start thinking there must be something in this. That's when you'll find among your relatives. Initially they think, oh, he's doing that now. Next week he'll be Jehovah's Witness. Week after that he'll probably be a Buddhist. But then as the years go by, they start thinking, there must be something in this. He's still doing it, and he looks really happy. Do you know, maybe we should just check this out in case. Because nobody's ready. You can't meet a convinced atheist, you can't meet a convinced theist. You can't be convinced about an illusion, you see. You can only hope that it's true. Whereas if you perceive reality, then you can be much more convinced than someone pretending that he knows what things are. You can't be a convinced atheist. Oh. Go. No? Yeah, okay. Any other questions or comments?
Krishna, bro. So we hear like from Bhagavad Gita and that how one falls down, say, from heavenly planets and takes birth. How does one take birth from hellish planets? It's like rain. He falls in the form of rain and all.
I've never seen it written anywhere. If you find it, let me know. But how do you take birth from an animal? The animal evolves up. In that species to fulfill those desires, because Krishna is just a facilitator. So all the species are there. This one wants to eat stool, this one wants to decapitate her husband after conception, this one wants to do that, okay. Or the human form's not. You can't do that in the human form of life. So you have to have a demoniac form of life to do that.
How come like animals they are say below in the evolutionary cycle, but how come they have a better sense control, as in they do not go in a sense of collecting, hoarding, or greed mentality and all. But
You mean different species seem more pious than others?
meaning like humans, why is it humans they are after greed, anger, lust? Animals we don't see them like being greedy. Or,
Depends on animal. Animals in the mode of goodness, animals in the mode of passion, and animals in the mode of ignorance. So you'd have to discriminate, well, which animal are you talking about? Some animals are very greedy, some animals are very lazy. Some animals will eat and eat and eat till it practically kills them, you know. There's some people that have dogs and they actually kill the dog because they just overfeed the dog. The dog just keeps wanting more and more and more, and then one day its heart bursts, you know, because it's not got the sense to realize, okay, let's stop now. You know? So, and some species like the cow, the swan, then they're in the mode of goodness, very peaceful, very clean. You look at the bee and the wasp, they're practically the same thing, but they have a whole different mentality. The wasp will just come. A wasp landed one time with my friend, and I hate wasps. I was trying to get out the motor as quick as I could, and he goes, you have to love everything for this also. And as he's saying it stung him for no reason, you know. He was like, don't try and shoo him out, you're just gentle and kind, you'll be fine. He's just sitting on his arm and just stinging, you know? And they can keep stinging over and over and over again. Whereas with a bee, it can only sting once, and when it stings, it dies because all its entrails come out. It stings got a barb on it, so it's an act of sacrifice. It's prepared to give its life to protect the hive and the queen. You know, so you have one community that's, you know, very very honourable, and one that's very very underhanded. The snake is considered inauspicious because it's led by the tongue, because the snake can't actually see very well. So it feels the vibration with its tongue. It's its tongue that leads it. So if you're led by the tongue, Shishno Dada Parayana, Iti Uti Doi. He who runs here and there, trying to satisfy his senses, can never know Krishna, can never attain Krishna. Krishna Nahi Pai. Shishno Dada Parayana. If you're controlled, then you become snake. So it's like, have you ever played that game, Steps and Ladders? So when the dice throws you on the snake, you go right down. So when you die with it, away from the fire. The amazing thing about Krishna consciousness is Srila Prabhupada set up in such a way, although this is the month of Damodarastika, you don't have to do anything extra than just second out like Tulsi, be there for Mangalati, take Prashadam, pay your obeisances to the spiritual master, Charanam Rita. That's all multiplied 1,000 times anyway. So every day we do that, we're on the square with the ladder in it. We're going up, inestimably going up. You know? But the challenge is, can you stay on that square? If you hop off into another square, you may slide down the snake.
just on a side note on this game, like devotees, they have done a version of it, and it's like the snakes and demons is lust, greed, and those sort of thing, and pull you down, and it's like different parties and all, and they've made a version of it wherein you go to Golok Vrindavan and different spiritual planets. Prabhu, there is an online question by Kirtan Vilas Prabhu from Sridham Mayapur. And Prabhu's question is, how could we improve our japa mood?
How can we improve our japa mood? Nice question. Thank you, Kirtan Vilas. I was watching his Mridanga playing. Amazing. So the problem is, if he comes here, I think I can play the Mridanga. If he comes here, then I'll be so embarrassed. I won't be able to play the Mridanga ever again. Right now, nobody really knows, so I think if he comes, everyone will realize he's terrible. Yeah, the mood. Well, the mood is more important. The mood and the mode are very similar, actually. We have moods and we have modes. So your mood is your mode. What mode are you in will determine the mood you're in. The mood you're in will determine the feeling with which you chant. And the feeling with which you chant will determine what the mantra sounds like to you. So we did this thing on Japasanga a couple of weeks ago. The person is saying something, and then it's said what he's saying, and they say that is embarrassing. So you can hear this group of people go, that is embarrassing, that is embarrassing. And then we say, oh, does it sound like there's lobsters in motion? And then the same people saying the same thing, because you've heard lobsters in motion, it sounds like lobsters in motion. Lobsters. So the meaning, the sound changes according to the mood that you're chanting in. So when you're chanting, are you chanting thinking, this is so boring, this is so boring? Or are you thinking, I hate determine your feeling and your emotion will determine the meaning of the mantra. And Shishiko Nitai Mai Pushashi Kija, Shishi Radha Kija. And believe it or not, you can actually change the mood you're in. We're led to believe, unless you take some kind of intoxicant or some antidepressant from the doctor, then that's the mood you've got, and that's the mood you're going to have to get used to. But you can change. But it does take a certain amount of expertise to be feeling really, really negative or discouraged, and switch into being very, very enthusiastic and very, very grateful. Anyone here had any experience of that? You've managed to change your mood. You pick up the bead bag and it doesn't feel, it feels really heavy this morning, like there's a cannonball inside it. You can just about lift it off the ground and you start chanting. Everything's really, it's like you're trying to run an engine with no oil. It's like, and everything's so difficult. And then you decide to, anyone experience that? When they've managed to change the mood? How? What happened? How did you do it? Share it with us, please. That'll be really useful for us. Have a rest of my life. There's one. So 2 bead bags. One full of your japa, the other one full of sweet balls. You just change the bag depending on how you feel.
Yeah. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's just I'm not sure what I do, but it's just like sometimes it is like that. It's like very slow, but then it's like at the end maybe like, oh, maybe I could actually do one more, like maybe, but I'm not sure. Like I can't explain it really.
Anybody else? How do they change their mood? They're in a mood and it's not a good one, and they know it's not devotionally aligned with how they should be feeling. So they decide, okay, I'm going to change the mood. Everybody has like a gear shift inside them somewhere. You can go from one gear into another. You can go from reverse. But you have to go into the right gears at the right time. So first, and then second, and then build up the momentum, and then go in eventually. If you're trying to go from reverse into fourth straight away, then the engine won't catch. Yeah, get out into nature. Yeah, that's another nice one. Just go for a walk, freshen up. That can change the mood. Yeah. 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 To remind you. Yeah. Any yeah, thank you. That's good. That's also helpful. Any other breakthroughs?
he's singing like this,
Yeah.
He wasn't just saying, he was saying, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
So these are all helpful. And also, personally, what I found is it's based upon determination that you can be proactive. See, a reactive person, his mood depends upon the environment he's in. So he's okay as long as everybody smiles at him, as long as everyone doesn't make too much noise, as long as everybody's not too messy or smelly, everything's fine. But that's a very precarious platform to base your mood upon. That's reactional. Or you could become proactive. Proactive is based upon your determination to apply principles regardless of the situation around you. So the first principle in Krishna consciousness is to be enthusiastic, which actually means to be happy, because you cannot be enthusiastic without being happy. Have you ever tried it? You ever met anybody that's miserable and enthusiastic? It's not usually possible, is it? So being enthusiastic, utsahan, means being happy. And the first proactive thing that you can do is to be happy. So you don't feel happy, you've got a hole in your sock, the temple president sneered at you, someone slapped a load of halibut down in front of your counter, you are not happy, bunny. And someone nudges you and says, look on the bright side. Be happy. So the challenge is, can you find the happy button and press it in yourself? And you have to be strong. You have to be a very strong, disciplined. See, people are thinking happiness is some kind of a luxury that you get when you achieve something, but it's not. Happiness is an austerity of the mind. It means to resist environmental influence and assert your happiness on the situation. Like as kids, children are just naturally happy. Things go wrong when they're very young. They just bounce back and they're laughing again, because they know that the goal of life is to be happy and to enjoy themselves. So that's the reality that they're situated in. And as they go on, they become more affected by extrinsic achievement rather than intrinsic. So they trade the intrinsic happiness for, well, I'll only be happy if I get these designer clothes, if I get this video game because my friend has got this, and I need to have that brand. If you only get me a pair of shoes, I know these shoes look the same as those, but these ones are 3 times the price because they got that brand on them. So it has to be that. So then everything becomes extrinsic, and that's a great. If you have a harvest crop, then the harvest crop are the humans, and you have to train them to become consumers. Only this brand will do. If you can't get that brand, then at least get the second best brand. If you can't afford that third best brand, you don't really want the 10th brand. You want to be up there so that people will note your status. So in this way, the kids are being tuned in to be consumers, and then because consumers need a certain amount of revenue to fuel their desires, then they become active cogs in the economic mechanism, and everything ticks along nicely. But if people start becoming happy with just one sari or one dhoti, or in a very simple situation where they share facility with others in a communal way, then that jeopardizes the whole economic system, the way it's running. So they're not happy about doing that. So this ability to change your mood is determined by how proactive you are, how strong and determined you are to push through the environmental circumstances around you and assert yourself as a positive, happy, contributing factor. And if you can manage to establish yourself as that identity, that is your real identity. That's who you really are. You are happy. You're actually not just happy. You're blissful. Happiness is transient, but bliss is something coming from the soul. It's something which you never have not been, nor ever will not be. Bliss is your constitutional position. Like the water is always wet, but it's dry when it's frozen. But constitutionally, the water is wet in the right environment. So, how to?
Neither be happy nor distressed. Unhappy, I think, under any situation. You need to be steady. So how would this...
Well, Krishna explains that there can be no happiness without peace, and you have to control. So when he's saying don't become elated when the situation's happy, and don't become overly discouraged when the situation. So you remain in the middle. Now, in the middle is you're not like going around, like someone that's just won the lottery, but you're satisfied and you're peaceful about things. So when we're talking about being happy, it's not just like going around giggling all the time and laughing your head off like you just had a load of some very strong narcotic to do that. But it's just you being natural. You're in your natural situation. In that sense, then Krishna does want everyone to be happy. He's created us to have happiness, not to be eternally suffering in the lake of fire. And he knows that potentially we all will, because we're all perfect and we're all complete. And we all have a unique relationship with him that nobody else has. So nobody else can please Krishna in the way that you can. And when you realize that, wow, I'm special to the most special person, and nobody else can be me better than I can be me. And we stop. There's a book called How to Get Depressed. Obviously, you're supposed to read and do the opposite. So one of the chapters is called Compare Yourself to People. So if you want to get depressed, just compare yourself to somebody else. And then you'll be like, why is he like that? Why is she like that? But if you're just directly connecting with Krishna, and you're special to Krishna, and Krishna is special to you, then that's the foundation for real happiness. When Srila Prabhupada we're just reading now about how he was leaving, so the devotees were wondering why Srila Prabhupada was going to these positions, these funny positions when he was on his deathbed. And the Kaviraj came and he said he's going into his Leela. He's dancing with Krishna. So he should have been crawling. The doctor was saying he's seen people in the same condition crawling up the wall with the pain, even on morphine, because there's no cushioning effect between the nerves and Srila Prabhupada's bones. So you see the amount of agony that his body was in, but he was blissful. He was totally beyond the bodily platform, what was happening to the body. And then he was just lying there and peacefully translating. Imagine trying to do that, even if you just had a splinter in your finger, and you're trying to do something. Oh, I have to sort this out first now. But he was just so disconnected, aloof, detached, such a deep level of satisfaction. And so Srila Prabhupada was showing us how to, he was the real deal, as they say. He was really walking the talk. He told us all the way through his books, and then he showed us exactly what to do, how to do it. Any other questions, Uncle? Is that okay, Kit Ambulance? Give me a wave if it wasn't. If I haven't confused you. So any other questions about saying, get into the woods, get out in nature, lead a more natural life. These are all ways to help change the mood. Just by keeping the place you live in clean and tidy, it changes the mood. It's very simple.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So we hear this in classes and we see it written also, like we are seeing people around us unhappy or people around us dying or leaving their bodies. But how do I shape up my life that it really bothers me, it really freaks me out in a way that, okay, I must do something, I must take devotional service seriously?
Well, that's the challenge. We have to be Uttana and Nishya, and then Darya, and Darya is the patience. That's the challenge. Can you sustain confidence and enthusiasm over an extended period of time? That's the challenge. That's when we find out who the boys and who the men, or who the ladies and who the girls. Can you sustain enthusiastic confidence over a long period of time? And that's where regulation comes in, and routine and habit. You can do the same thing for 28 days. It's become a habit. So whatever it is that you would like to improve on, rather than trying to become a Goswami overnight, you can just decide, I'm going to stop various kind of stocks on the show. You're going to watch for the rest of the day. Just simple. Little things like that. And then the enthusiasm alone isn't sufficient, so there has to be the confidence, which means there has to be knowledge there, sambandha. And then Abhideva, we put it into practice. And then prayojan, we start to experience the goal. We start to get a little taste of the goal of what we're trying to achieve. And it all starts when you pick up that feedback. Because how well you perform in those 2 hours determines how well you perform over the next 22 hours. So everything in your job, give it everything you've got, all the focus, all the desire, all the determination that you've got, put it into the japa, and then investing in the japa, and the japa will reward you, will reciprocate with you throughout the day, will give you insight in how you can come to Krishna, how you can turn the situation around. If you're going through some situation in your life and you've lost the vision of what Krishna is trying to tell you, then you'll have to keep going through the lesson and the difficulty over and over again. As soon as you know Krishna's here, I can see his hand in what's going on, I understand why this had to happen, I understand what it is I need to change, why Krishna is doing this so that I can step closer. And that's Krishna consciousness. You're just going around thinking of Krishna. Oh, I'm really Krishna conscious. Yeah, I'm thinking of him right now. I'm really Krishna conscious. That's not actually really Krishna conscious. Really Krishna conscious is this person said this to me yesterday, and this happened to me, and that happened, and wow, I can really see what it is I need to learn here. That's Krishna conscious. And when you can see that, then everything becomes enthusing, and you're grateful to take the component Shivana. You're grateful that this is just a time reaction around you. The person doing it just urged me of this particular mentality and free me from lifetimes of entanglement in the material world. If you have gratitude, it automatically gets you free from gratitude. So you have a gratitude altar, and you can look at your gratitude level. You can be grateful what you are. The gratitude level is 100%. If your gratitude level is only 30%, and the rest of it is filled with gratitude, or the gratitude goes up, the gratitude goes up. You can take it for granted, you don't feel gratitude, and you don't have gratitude. And that's what Krishna consciousness is. Krishna consciousness means Krishna gratitude. It's concept, Krishna consciousness, but you have a lot of gratitude. So can you be Krishna conscious with gratitude? That's Krishna consciousness. Krishna is so kind, he is so kind, he is so kind. He's really even now in this situation, Krishna is so kind. But you're not thinking about that. You're Krishna conscious. And if you go back to the drawing board and write this one out again, we got the wrong equations behind it, wrong. That's what I should do. This thing here, that thing here, this thing here, equals gratitude. If it equals gratitude, we go back in the equation. It's a very powerful emotion, gratitude. It's very compelling, it's very healing, very sustaining. You feel grateful. And you can go 60 hours trying to getting the taste. Well, we've got 6 hours here now. So, in those 6 hours, okay? Yeah. We've got 6 hour kirtan coming up. So, kirtan with us.
कि